something bad to us, we are going to do things to you that have never been done before.
Well, g'day, folks. How are you? I hope you're doing all right for a Monday. If you've got silver in your pocket, you're going to be pretty happy with what's happening on your Monday, I dare say. In fact, your Friday might have been a little bit exciting because silver closed at Friday here in Australia at over $44 an ounce, which isn't too bad. But when people woke up on Saturday morning, they discovered it was $47 an ounce. Now, the market's been asleep over the weekend, but it woke up. And boy, did it wake up this morning. So rather than hearing me talk about it, I thought I'd get the bloke who knows more about gold, silver, and the bullion market in general than anybody else I know. Good afternoon or / good evening to Paul Engerman from Ainslie Bullion. How are you, buddy?
Yeah, very good, Carl. Yourself?
Very, very good. I'm trying to find out and figure out a way of explaining how the price of silver per ounce has jumped more than 10% in a few days.
Couple of days, yeah, I know. It's welcome to silver, Carl. Silver can frustrate longer than people have patience at times, and then bring broad smiles when it goes, and that's what it's in the process of doing. So I guess, as you said, it started Friday night our time in the US. Another bout of poor economic data, and it was capped off, I think, the sixth straight week of the US macro surprise index falling. That's I think the worst since early 23.
Wow.
So and you know, so that's bad news, Paul. But bad news is good news in markets, because it's a market fixated on when's the easy money coming, when are they going to drop rates, and of course that all leads them to think that the Fed's going to drop rates, and off we go again. So. But more so because gold's the same animal, but silver was up 6.5% Friday night. Gold only up a couple of 3. It's because technically silver was right. When a lot of people watching that silver technical analysis, it was right at a breakout point.
Right. Yep.
So it only needed a bit of a nudge, and that was a nudge. And then today, we've had that the death of the Iranian president spur both gold and silver along, on the unknown of what that means and who did what. But so certainly.
For people who may not be aware, the Iranian president was flying in a helicopter, and that helicopter came down. He was killed. It has been confirmed in mainstream Iranian media. Now, how did the helicopter come down? I think will probably be a topic of discussion. But right now, we're not talking about wars. We're talking about what it's done for the price of precious metals. Ainslie Bullion have seen a few people come in the door today, I imagine, after seeing what's gone on over the weekend.
Rather busy, yeah. It's it certainly captured a lot of people's attention. But I think a key thing to remember, Carl, is we can get excited about 9% in a couple of days, but the gold silver ratio, which is what so many people watch, which is literally how many ounces of silver it takes to buy an ounce of gold, has been sitting at that historically high level of 80s and 90s for a while now. And to cast people's memories back to 2011, which was the last time we saw silver at $48 in Aussie terms, we had a gold silver ratio at 30. So the jump of that 9-10% in the last couple of days has only taken the gold silver ratio from 86 to 76. So in terms of that mean reversion back to that sort of 100-year 40 average, we've got a long way to go. And what people have to remember too is, we're at $48 Aussie, but we're still only at 32 US. And in 2011, it was 48.49 US, just to get back to that previous high. And
so that's a big thing for people to remember.
Yeah, much lower gold price. So you extrapolate 30 to 1 on the current gold price, and we still have a long way to go in the silver market. So it's a little bit earlier than we expected, I got to say, Carl. Like as you know, we watch global liquidity pretty intently, and those macro markets, and silver tends to come on late in a cycle. So this may be a false start. So we've still got time to keep stacking, but you don't know. These are ultimately organic markets, and we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, and the world is a funny place at the moment, particularly in that part of the world: Iran, Iraq, Israel. There are some serious issues going on there, not to mention the ones in Ukraine, and all of that does have an impact on particularly the gold price, isn't it? But it does have an impact because the military-industrial complex hides its silver buying very, very well from the market, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, from what I understand, because there's a fair bit of silver in a lot of those weapons. So we're not privy to what that is, but look, more broadly, silver is getting gobbled up for solar panels, for electronics. There's a whole lot of growing uses for this precious metal that wears two hats. It's part monetary, it's part the gold, and it's part industrial. It's the copper, so those two hats are playing out, and all of what you just mentioned before. Like, we can talk about what it says to gold, but it's probably as relevant to talk about what it says about the US dollar, because these continued weaponizations of the US dollar are seeing a demonstrable move from sovereign nations away from the US dollar, away from buying their treasuries, right? So you've got, we talked about Singapore was one of the biggest buyers last quarter, and they're the geopolitically, agnostic, safe, any side sort of player. But even they are saying, you know what, we're going to put our reserves into gold, not US dollars, because we're not going to have these guys go and weaponize our bonds and give them to our enemies. So there's a broader picture there that gold is sniffing out all of, and is the safe place as it's been for 5,000 years, as was silver for just long, and people are piling into it.
So, Paul, I've had 3 phone calls today from friends of mine who are saying, heard you talking about silver. Should I go and buy it now, or have I missed the boat? Clearly, now is a good time to go and buy. Only sell if you absolutely positively have to, would be my advice. But I don't give financial advice. I don't have any credentials in that way, shape, or form. But in my opinion, that would be what I would do. Am I on the right track?
Likewise, but I can speak in facts, and the fact is that gold-silver ratio is still at 76. That's way over even the average of 40, and that's an average, so you can expect it to go below that if it mean reverts. And the other thing that we're always looking at is global. And I invite your listeners to go to ainslie.research.com and have a look at the last video we did on the macro and global liquidity cycles, because
sorry, Paul, I'll get you just to say that one more time. We had a bit of a dropout. So just what are you looking at? The other thing?
So global liquidity. So this is really a measure of all the money that's running through financial markets around the world. Okay.
Right.
And the capacity, more accurately, the capacity of that money. And it's something we're watching very, very closely. We give in-depth discussions about this every month on ainslieresearch.com. You go to that global liquidity, macro and global liquidity cycles. So these are cycles. They're somewhat predictable. Gold follows them, and silver follows them beautifully. And what they're saying is we're really still in the early stages of coming out of that tightening cycle. And we all know, the tightening said bottomed sort of the end of 22, when we saw the Fed had realized that inflation, Fed and central banks all around the world, that inflation was getting out of control. So they tightened that supply. That stops that flow of liquidity around the world. and that is downward pressure on gold, because gold is really about sniffing out that monetary inflation, and that's all it is, right? They're printing this stuff hand over fist. They're creating it. They're creating the environment for it through low interest rates and that sort of thing. And what we're in now is very clearly the early stages of the next upward cycle, where they're easing liquidity, and gold will track that up. Silver will track that up beautifully. So it's still early days. We wouldn't expect that to peak for another 18 months. And it's, you know, it's somewhat predictable, and it gels with the logic, right? So whilst ever they keep printing this currency and creating new currency, money that, you know, real money that's been money for 5,000 years is the bit that stays, grows, whilst they're debasing that stuff in your wallet or your bank account.
Has the recent uptick in the price of silver and gold had any effect in the crypto markets?
Bitcoin follows that same liquidity index, actually closer than gold. It's usually the quickest to react, and again, we've seen that Bitcoin market bottom almost exactly in late 22, just as gold bottomed in late 22 and silver bottomed in late 22. And the index has been tipping up, and that's, I guess, confounded a lot of people last year. Everyone was expecting a recession because we had an inverted yield curve and all this sort of thing. But the liquidity was flowing from late 22 and it stopped it, right? So how long it can stop before, you don't know. But gold and silver and Bitcoin have all been climbing since then.
Beautiful. And climb they are. In fact, I have the graph here, which I should be able to show if I hold my mouth the right way. Let me bring that one up. And so this goes to show what gold's doing and has been doing. Let's just have a look at silver, because I found this quite astounding. Let's go to January this year. It's the 29th. That's the first. $34.92 an ounce. And if you buy now at 48. So gold,
up
if you
38%.
I mean, that's staggering, isn't it?
30, and gold's up about 20%, right? So it's but you can see how silver lags. Yeah, see how gold was just climbing, and silver was doing nothing, then all of a sudden. So that's and platinum's had a lovely run as well.
One of the Voice of Freedom followers was in today. He sent me a message. He bought himself some bars and told me that they were not your average bars. You have some special vintage 10-ounce bars, I believe, that you've got for sale at the moment. What's the difference between buying, say, a vintage bar and something out of unallocated stock?
You're buying a vintage bar. Look at the end. What's really important for everyone to remember is when we buy back gold and silver, we buy back gold and silver. We don't care if it's black, blue, battered, scratched, vintage, brand new, packaged, or whatever. We're buying, you know, an ounce of gold or an ounce of silver. So what the vintage bars are, and we've got them in the 10 ounce and the 1 kilos, is in 2013, Ainslie changed its logo. So for Bullion to be Bullion, it must have a recognised hallmark. And so we changed our hallmark in 13. And so, you know, so for some of our older customers who were used to the old triangular Ainslie hallmark or brand, there's a bit of sentimental value there, but for others, they're just picking something up at a cheaper price that we've bought back. And but at the end of the day, you're buying 10 ounces of silver and you still own 10 ounces of silver.
I'm just trying to download a pic now that we took yesterday. I've got Vince here helping me with some bus issues, and we had a gentleman who I won't name turn up and say, "Oh, look, Carl, love to have a chat." Sorry, I've just got to try and talk and bring things in here at the same time. Love to have a chat, but wanted to show you something I bought my dad, 25 years ago, and he died, and it came back to me as a gift. And he handed that up, a 1 kilo Sydney 2000 coin, and that's an Ainslie round beside it to give people some idea of size. Stunning coin. So while it's absolutely beautiful, and I do have the B-side picture of that, it says it's worth $30. Is a 1 kilo coin that's printed today or minted today still worth $30?
That's the beauty of legal tender. A 1 ounce gold coin is worth $100 if you believe the face value on the back of it. It's nearly $1,000 coin. That's just, they have to not get tricked again, so they will always lowball the face value, and they take that into a bank, and they will very gladly give you $30, Carl.
Absolutely.
And that coin would go, as much as we'd love to buy that, we'll give you the silver value, as I said before. So it works both ways. It can be the most beautiful thing, and we'll still give you the weight of silver. But something like that, that's a collectible, is something you might get a bit more money from a coin collector or eBay or something. But it's that legal tender face value is always a low ball, so they never get caught out. Yeah,
right. So that is still the case today. So if you were to do an Ainslie 1 kilo, or wouldn't be an Ainslie, would it to be a coin? But if the Perth Mint was doing one, it would still be $30 today, or would they make it $50 or $25?
Yeah, for a kilo, I think it is 30. Yep. A 1 ounce coin is $1. So that's Yep.
And that's right. Coins like that are for collectors, and you don't bring those in necessarily if you're expecting to get a premium price for your great collector coin, even though it comes in a spectacular box and comes with an authenticity report and all that sort of stuff. It is, you guys, as should any bullion dealer be, is all about the weight of the actual precious metal being.
And mate, it's a great segue. And apologies to viewers who've heard this before, but it's one of my favourite stories. We sell the 50-cent round, right? So in 1966, the Australian 50-cent piece was a round coin, and had about a third of an ounce of silver in it, right? So they had to stop that because it was getting out of whack, as you'd appreciate. Now back then, that 50-cent round would buy your lunch. Okay.
Yeah. Wow.
Today, that 50-cent round is, if I'm doing my maths right, is about $12 worth, $15. Right. And so $15, what will it do? It'll still buy you your lunch.
Still buy your lunch.
That 50-cent piece, the hexagonal 50-cent piece, will barely buy the sauce to put on that lunch.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
It's just a classic reminder of what real money is. That money in your wallet, in your bank account, is going backwards every single day. They are inflating it away. And your real silver, just as that third of an ounce did in 1966, that third of an ounce still has maintained its purchasing power, will buy your lunch, and the 50-cent piece nowadays, barely pay for that sauce packet.
Yeah, and I know quite a lot of people who follow us. One in particular loves to deal in silver. In fact, he was in the chat the other night in one of the shows telling us that he'd managed to get, I forget now how many acres, but quite a few, ploughed in a very big tractor with a very big, plough at a very deep level, all done in 2 hours for what turned out to be, I think it was 20 silver coins.
Yeah,
mightn't have even been that many. And the bloke was happy to trade in that. He was at a vintage shop, found something he really liked, an old sword, said to the bloke, "Oh, well, do you do trade in silver and gold?" "Oh, yeah, I'll take silver." So that's what he did, paid for it in silver. So there is that economy emerging now.
Oh, we've got a whole group, and I don't think they would mind me mentioning, in Byron Bay, that are using our 1 ounce and half ounce reset coins with the financial tree. They call them the Byron Bob and the half Byron Bob.
Yeah.
And they have a whole community trading on those Byron Bobs. So
that's amazing,
it's a beautiful reminder of real money, right? And so if things actually do get to that reset sort of stage, it's just a reminder of what will last through that as well, as it has every
sure.
recent.
Mate, you're going to have to hook me up with the folks down at Byron Bay. I'd love to go down and share a Byron Bob meal with them.
Absolutely. I'm sure they'd welcome you with wide arms.
Good on your stuff. Great stuff. Paul, thanks for chatting with us this afternoon. And I know you're really busy, so I'll let you go and get back to it. Of course, people can buy Ainslie Bullion online at ainslieBullion.com.au, or better still, go in and experience it for yourself. Don't forget to mention us. You'll get a tiny little discount, but every little bit helps. And grab yourself a piece of this market. So silver or gold or platinum, because it's on the move as well. And it's sort of that in between silver and gold sort of metal. So don't discount platinum, folks.
All right. Pleasure as always, mate.
Thanks, bud. Talk to you soon.
Cheers.
All right. That's just a little breaker for me. And I'm going to